I think he's the best centre-forward in the Premier League by an absolute mile.
At least 120.
120.
Alexander Isak is the best striker in the Premier League right now, and the funny thing is that we all seem to know this a long time ago.
Isak, it's into the net! Alexander Isak off the bar and in as Newcastle take the lead in the League Cup semi-final.
But it took Man City's main creators to fall out of form for us to finally realise it. Because, you know, what the difference between the two is that Isak creates his own goal-scoring situations, whereas Haaland needs someone else to do it for him. But the big question is, why has the Swedish gem been so overlooked in recent years, and is now finally getting his flowers, even linked with multi-million euro transfers to a couple of European giants? Let's find out. I love bringing stats into the mix, especially when we're talking about attacking contributions, because they are the real proof of a forward's performance. So let's start with this. Realistically, Isak and Newcastle as a whole started 2024-25 slowly. By the end of October, the Magpies were in the bottom half of the Premier League table, with Isak scoring just 2 league goals before November. Yes, that came out of nowhere, especially with his extraordinary 2022-23, which saw him finish as the 3rd highest scorer in the Prem. After that though, something just clicked for Isak and Newcastle as they lost just 2 of their next 11 games and produced some massive results, drawing with that incredible Liverpool side 3-3, as well as beating Arsenal, Aston Villa, Man United and Spurs, the last 3 of which came in their last 3 Premier League meetings. And guess what? Alexander Isak scored in every one of those games. Not only that, but since 27th of October, the Swede has contributed a total of 18 goals or assists for club and country in all competitions. By comparison, Salah has been involved 23 times in the same period. Obviously, I'm not trying to draw parallels between the two, but let's face it, Salah is arguably in the best form of his life. But from Isak's point of view, being 5 contributions shy of arguably the best footballer in the world right now in a less powerful team is spectacular in my book. What do you think? On the other hand, while we have said that Isak cannot be compared to a winger like Salah, there are certainly parallels to be drawn between the Swede and Haaland. Not only is the Man City man down the pecking order for the best number 9 in the league, but he would hardly be in the top 3 of the most informed Scandinavians, considering that Isak, Viktor Gyökeres and Alexander Sørloth are fabulous in 2024-25. And by the way, speaking of Isak and Gyökeres, and throwing Dejan Kulusevski into the mix, listen, I have nothing in common with Sweden and have never been a supporter of them, but that attacking firepower literally gets me excited for the upcoming international tournaments, starting with the 2026 World Cup. However, when we talk about Sweden's biggest stars, there is one name that always comes to mind: Zlatan Ibrahimovic, of course. And did you know that Isak was being compared to the legend even before he broke into big-time football? He began his career with local side AIK in the 2015-2016 season, making his senior debut in August 2016. He quickly made headlines and was compared to Sweden's all-time best. Around 6 months later, he even caught the attention of Sky Sports, who wrote the article about him entitled "Is Alexander Isak the new Zlatan Ibrahimovic?" In January 2017, he moved to Borussia Dortmund, but he was still an unpolished diamond who struggled to break into the first team. However, he learned a lot from Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Marco Reus, and other young stars who'd already broken into the first team, Ousmane Dembele and Christian Pulisic. However, the team that really took his career to the next level was Dutch side Willem II. At the start of the 2018-19 season, Alexander Isak did something that even R9, Luis Suarez and Zlatan have never managed. He scored 12 goals in his first 12 Eredivisie games. That's right, for about 2.5 months, Isak became the most sensational foreigner to play in the Dutch league. After that, he was on to La Liga, where he donned the colours of Real Sociedad. In San Sebastian, Alexander Isak was once again very good, keeping his attacking returns at a pretty solid level, but he didn't get the constant attention of the media, even though he demonstrated his immense ability week in, week out. Perhaps the most prestigious rumour came from Catalonia, with Barcelona keen to sign him at a time when they were in desperate need of a striker. That happened around the midway point of the 2021-22 season, when the Catalans were also linked with Haaland and Lewandowski, but ultimately opted for a proven striker and landed the Polish superstar from Bayern Munich. But you know what the irony is? Alexander Isak scored his last La Liga goal against Barca on the 21st of August 2022, literally hours before signing a €63 million deal with Newcastle. And guess what? He didn't stop hurting the big guns, scoring his first ever Premier League goal on his debut against Liverpool, 10 days after scoring against Barcelona. Pretty impressive, right? It would certainly go down in the history books, especially if Isak becomes an all-time great. Even with the form he's showing at the moment, it probably sounds like a bit of a stretch. I mean, an all-time great is something special, but based on the qualities he has shown and in teams that are far from the best in the world, he described as a world-class player. Just look at his figures since arriving at Newcastle: 44 goals in 62 Premier League starts. Add in his impact in big games, and you have a player who can win you the Premier League if he has not even more than 5 other world-class players around him. And to really demonstrate how influential he has been against some of the best and most financially powerful clubs in Europe, just listen to his goal tally. 2 goals against Barcelona, 2 goals and an assist against Real Madrid, a goal against Atletico Madrid, 3 goals and assist against Liverpool, 6 goals against Tottenham, not so surprising, 3 goals against Chelsea, plus a goal each against Man City, Arsenal, PSG and Man United, which came in his final game in 2024. That makes a staggering 23 goal contributions against some of the best teams in Europe. This is what I mean by slightly overlooked. No disrespect to Newcastle, I love the way they compete, the Champions League finished 2 seasons ago, and the way they are slowly returning to glory, but Isak definitely deserves a better team. Then again, I don't really see how the Magpies could keep him until the end of his contract, which runs until 2028. But as former Aston Villa striker Gabriel Agbonlahor said,
on his aero game as well, I mean, will Newcastle be able to keep hold of him?
Only if they finish top 4, top 5.
So it's Champions League.
Yeah. Will they, Gab?
I think they will, yeah.
Playing well at the moment,
yes,
aren't
they've
they?
got no European football distractions. They're looking like a really good team.
But if you ask me, I don't think Isak will be satisfied with a top 4 finish. Yes, that might do the trick this season for him to play Champions League football in 2025-26, but then what? He'll want to win silverware, reach the final stages in Europe, challenge for the Premier League. And having said that, I don't really see Newcastle as the last club in his career. By the way, if you like the video okay so far, hit the subscribe button so you never miss out on the Football Fanatic channel. The good news for Isak is there are plenty of clubs in the Prem and outside the UK who would be willing to break the bank. The big questions for him, however, are: what offer should I accept? Where would I get the most playing time? In your opinion, who is the team that ticks the most boxes? Because I genuinely consider Arsenal as the go-to team for Isak. It just makes sense, especially when you add in the Thierry Henry comparisons, something Agbonlahor has mentioned in his guest appearance on TalkSport. And when you really think about it, it's a fact. Since the late 2000s, I can't really think of another striker who plays the way Henry and Isak do: dribbling, finishing, creating chances, heading, an ability to effectively hold up the play. He is the complete player, an absolute full package of a striker. And just like Henry, you can put him out on the left as a winger and he will again do a fantastic job. We all remember his run against Everton 2 years ago. His close foot control is something everyone talks about, especially when you consider that he is 191 centimetres tall, which is another similarity between him and Henry, as the Frenchman is only 3 centimetres shorter at 188 centimetres. Now, let's get back to the transfer news. If you ask the Arsenal faithful, they would love to see Isak come to the Emirates, simply because the chances of him flopping are minimal. He's got the Premier League experience, he's used to a similar style of play as the lone striker in the team, and he'd form a similar partnership with Bukayo Saka, just as he does with another pacey winger in Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this kid. I think he's an amazing player. I think he's been patient to get his chance. You know, he's not Saka. He's a different kind of player. Saka's going to be missed. He's in there, you know, with Odegaard and Saka and Rice are probably their three best players. So he's got to come in. He's going to have to be looked after. I don't know if he'll be able to play week in, week out.
The other thing to keep an eye on is Newcastle's finances. Since the Saudi Arabian takeover in 2021 and the massive investments in the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, Sven Botman, Kieran Trippier, Isak and Sandro Tonali, the Magpies have been on the brink of financial ruin, even potentially facing sanctions for failing to keep their finances under control. Earlier this year, it was reported that 2024 was the first time in 5 years that Newcastle had made a profit following sponsorship deals with Adidas, Fenwick's and Seller. But the caution still remains. With that in mind, if Newcastle want to bring in new players, they will have to sell, and Isak is undoubtedly the name that could bring them the most amount of cash. It remains to be seen where this saga will go, but don't judge us if a transfer has already been completed by the time we upload this. No, just kidding. The chances of Isak leaving in January are close to zero. But as you know, anything can happen in football. If you enjoyed that one, you will love our video on Mohamed Salah. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Just 1,000 mad football fans already did. Until next time.